Welcome to another episode of the Make More Money Now show. If you knew what went on behind the scenes, it's taken us half an hour to get to this stage. But such is the life, in technology and recording and everything. I'm Patti Pokorchak, small biz sales coach, and today my co-host, Gerry Black, the marketing copywriter, he's got some marketing mystery topic to talk about because he won't tell me what it's about. So I'm going to be as thrilled as you. So over to you, Gerry.
Well, thanks, Patti. Today we're going to cover a subject that a lot of entrepreneurs and small business owners absolutely struggle with. But after today, it's going to be a snap. And the topic is creating blog posts.
Ooh.
And for many people, this is like such a tedious endeavor. It just takes them forever. They don't know what to write. They don't know how to write it and everything. So today I'm going to put a template up on the screen and walk you through what I use, not for all my blog posts, but for a basic blog post that you want to get some traction and most importantly, solve a problem for your audience. All right.
May I just interrupt and sort of, toot your horn that you are the winner of a prestigious competition on blog post writing. And the competition was to get a contract to write, 8 blog posts a month for a highly respected influencer.
Yes,
right?
and thank you for mentioning that. So I'm really excited about that. And I'm going to be sharing some of the stuff I'll be using anyway and always use as I create these blog posts. So I'm going to click up my screen here and put this up here. Hold on, just bear with me.
Well, what I was trying to say is that your blog posts. You had to really, really work to win that contract. It wasn't just, hey, I'm a good blogger. Hey, just hire me. You actually had to compete for that position or for that contract, and you won. Then you also learned a lot, right, of the state of the art of blogging these days, right? So
I did learn a lot, and I'm still learning about the technical issues we have today because I see that I'm not able to share my screen, which is a rather integral part of today's little lesson. As you see, we not only do we know sales and marketing, but we can think on our feet. Sort of. Patti, get me access to sharing the document.
Okay, I'm going to make you co-host, okay?
Okay.
So my video disappeared, okay?
That's not going to hurt, is it? If I'm, okay. So I'm going to, folks, at no time will my hands leave my wrists.
So hopefully you can share. This has been,
hopefully.
Okay. Yay. We can actually see each other here. Blog post templates.
Okay.
Keywords, categories.
Right. So this is actually what I give my assistant. Once I've completed the post in draft form, this is what I give her. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide down here for a minute about the bit at the top is very important. I'm going to come back to it. But basically, this is pretty much the system I use. So we're going to walk through it. And again, this is like a formula that you can use to do almost any kind of blog post. And it's basic. It's not really involved, but it'll get you writing blog posts easily within 45 minutes to an hour, and you'll be done. So as you can...
I was going to say, is this a blog post about blogging, right?
Yeah. So this is, my I think I wrote this a few months ago, but my subject here was email subject lines. And so the first thing you want to do is present the problem. So I'm just going to take a minute and read what I wrote here. Research shows that when people receive your emails, the first question most of them ask is, who's this from? Now, if you have an existing relationship with the person you're sending to, that's great, because there's a good chance you're going to get past that and it's not going to be an issue. But if you don't, then what? So what I'm doing here with this blog post is I'm presenting the problem. You're sending out emails, your open rate maybe isn't as high as you want it to be. So I'm telling you, I'm identifying the problem, and then I'm saying, so what can you do about it? Okay. So the next thing I want to do in this blog post is I want to suggest some alternatives before I get to my solution. So you'll see here it says you could try and find a way to develop a relationship first with that person so that when you do send them an email, they know who you are and the chances are they'll open it. But that's not practical. It's very, very time consuming, right? If you want to send out the emails. So what is a solution? And that's where you step in and present your solution. Now, there's a little bit of a preamble here, and let's take a look at it. So what I'm saying is, here's a faster solution. Learn how to write killer subject lines. Now, you do recall, I did say it was a draft. You'll see the typo there in writer, but don't worry about that. Nothing to see here, folks. So what I'm saying to the reader is, before we dive in, consider this. If you were trying to get someone's attention in a face-to-face communication, it's unlikely you'd stop in mid-sentence and hope you'd said enough to get your prospect to listen. And yet, marketers do this all the time when they create subject lines that are too lengthy, because only a certain amount of the subject line is going to show up in the person's email box. So you want to make sure you try and keep your subject lines to 50 to 60 characters, and always make sure the keyword, try and stack it a little toward the front in the subject line, but you want to try and give the reader enough to know what the email is about, because then you've got a fighting chance. Don't leave all the meat till the end of the subject line. They may never see it. They'll just scan it, say, oh, I don't see anything here that's of interest, and they'll cut away. So you're trying to sell the reader on opening your email. So, of course, Make More Money Now is all about selling and marketing. And so this is a combination of two, but you really have to sell them on opening your email, even though it's free. That makes no difference. So I'm giving a little preamble there just to show that I know a little bit about the subject matter. Now we get into 9 tips for creating subject lines that get your email open. So I've told you what the problem is. I've said you could try and do this. Then I've said, but that's not very practical. So create killer subject lines to get them open. And then I'm walking through the 9 tips. So basically, when you take a look at this, you go back, you see the formula. Present the problem, whatever your business is, suggest some alternatives, and then offer your solution, which in this case is 9 tips.
Ah, sounds good. It's a lot of nice white space too. You've been effective use of those headlines and subheadlines and bolding the important stuff. So it's easy to scan through.
Very, very important. That's a great observation, because that's the key. Remember, your reader is busy. One of the biggest crimes I see, or the biggest marketing no-nos that I see when it comes to copy, is readability is not very strong. There are many people that want to scan, and they'll go back and learn more if they want, but you want to give them an opportunity to scan down the list, because somebody who owns this may write subject lines and they may know 5 of the 9 things. So you want them to be able to scan and see, oh, which is the one I didn't know, right? So you're giving them these tips, but again, you're presenting them in a very reader-friendly type environment. That is the key to any communication. In fact, I see a lot of people, not to get too far off track, but see a lot of people with, they'll have a dark background on their website, and then they'll do a color like a yellow or white or something like that on the dark background. That is very hard to read, and most people won't. Black and white is boring but easy.
I was going to say, and the scripty fonts drive me crazy too. Make it easy to read. Don't be making it look pretty, because it's, always err on the side of a really crisp. The one thing, I don't know, Gerry, when we talk about blog posts, this is the thing that irritates me. For some reason, the default color in most WordPress is not black. It's kind of a gray black.
Yes.
So, so the first thing I do is, or the last thing I do is make sure I have as much contrast as possible. So I make sure that I, highlight everything and then turn it into the blackest black, just because it's that gray. I don't know. It's just, it's small little point, but I see so many websites where it's hard to read, especially as you get a little older, and I'm waiting to see my eye doctor to probably get glasses. But yeah, it's a good point about that. What might look kind of trendy with that black background, it's like, horrible.
And that's a small point, but a very important one. I do that as well, and it's kind of the designer thing, and like it's like an artistic thing I've noticed that's crept in over the last few years. Like I'm going to make this hard for my reader to read, so they won't read it. Right. I mean, like designers, they have their place, but they don't know how to sell and they don't know how to present information. And that's a great point. And often the font is very small. So it is hard to read. And I don't know where that came from, but yes, totally agree that light gray nonsense is ridiculous. It's hard to read. It's muted. It basically says this isn't important, so just gloss over it.
Right. So this show's on about creating blog posts, right? So we're gonna,
yeah. Well, the thing is that you want to try and you always want to present information that's of interest to your audience, but there's nothing wrong with using a recipe or a formula and cranking out, because you can't go wrong by saying, hey, this is a problem. Here's a couple of ways you could solve it. Here's my way to solve it.
Right. So what an entrepreneur can do is at the end of the week go, what common question came up? What's the common problem I solved?
Yeah.
And they say, I'm going to write a blog post, because that's very current, because then they'll know the problem, they'll know where most entrepreneurs get stuck, and here's my solution. So it should flow fairly naturally, is what you're saying.
Yes, very much so. And it should be of interest to your audience, because many of them will have the same problem, right? I mean, I know, who does not know, who could not predict, if you talk to 10 entrepreneurs or small business owners, how do you like writing blog posts? How many are going to say, boy, I love it. It's a breeze. Well, it's not a breeze, and it's an important part of your marketing. But many people, you'll go on their website and you'll see their blog posts are dated like a year and a half ago. You can actually update them and show a current date if you just can't get to it. But why not learn how to create content quickly? And this particular blog post, I think when I checked, it's about 600 words. So that's fine. It's not the longest blog post in the world, but it's punchy and it's something people will read. And again, formatting in such a way they can go through it and learn something.
And another thing is about repurposing content too. So I'm thinking this is a perfect LinkedIn article, right? Right. So I don't know about you, but my strategy is sometimes to do a LinkedIn article. Then what I just did is I copied and pasted it to a blog post, a month or two later, or you can do vice versa. You can create a blog post, and then like next week you can say, cut and paste it and do a post on LinkedIn or an article. I mean, the difference between a post and an article on LinkedIn is Google only indexes the articles. So that's why, but you kind of have to do a post to link to the article sometimes to really get some traction. But yeah, it's about repurposing, because this is a great topic. Use it on Facebook, on Instagram or Twitter or whatever. So it's not just a one hit time. Wonder.
No. And you can do a podcast. You can do so many things. You can take this little blog post and turn it into so many things. Today we're going to talk about subject lines, and boom, boom, boom. You can just read it right off or speak to it. Another neat little trick too is if you've been creating content for quite some time, you can go back 4 or 5 years into your content and grab something you did before, put a little fresh new face on it, change it around a little bit. It's your content, and you can change it around a little bit and represent it from a bit of a different perspective. So that way, if you find that, oh, I just don't have the time this week, that's an easy way to go in, massage it a little bit, and represent it with a different title.
Yeah, because you might change your mind about certain things because, sales and marketing things do change. And, a blog post from 10 years ago, like, oh my God, I can't believe I said that. So you kind of want to get rid of that content, as you say, refresh it, and then change the, on WordPress, you can change the edit date and time, and looks new, and it looks like you've been busy, and you have been. You've been learning and learning new things, and going, oh boy, I don't want that on my. It dates you if you're saying, let's do Snapchat for I don't know, MySpace. Let's go on MySpace, which apparently still exists, but
there you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So as we look down through this, you can see the 9 things, and they're pretty short, but there's something there. They're easy to understand, and they're good, solid tips for creating effective subject lines. So when you get down to the bottom, I didn't do a lot here. I think this was an early draft, but you want to summarize your argument. So although people are becoming more selective about which emails they open, strong subject line will help you achieve your number one goal, which is, getting them to open yours. And then the last thing is, to suggest some type of action tip. And there you want to give them an action tip, something that's easy for them to do. And, in this particular case, you might just say, why don't you send out 3 emails and using 2 or 3 of these tips and just see what happens. And most of the email programs like Aweber, MailChimp, Constant Contact, they will be able to tell you what your open rate is, so you can see if using some of these tips actually impacts your open rate. So basically what you've said is, here's the problem. Here's some things you could do. Here's what I suggest you do. And here's something that you can do today to put it into effect. And so that's a very concise way of, helping someone who's kind of trying to figure out, how do I even organize blog posts, right? Because with this formula, the organization is really done for you. It's sort of 3 or 4 chunks, and you can use the same formula for just about any subject.
Yeah. I mean, you think of the acronym almost like PS, which is problem, solution, problem, solution. So you just even thinking of it as questions, right? It's like, this is the burning question this week. And it makes you look like you're thousands of clients, because you're sort of saying, hey, this is the most popular question this week, and here, let me answer that for you. And again, it shows off your expertise. And maybe I would suggest maybe at the end, there is a call to action, like, hey, if you struggle with writing, I'm a marketing writer for hire,
Yeah, that's a good point. You don't see that on this because I'm sending it to my VA, but yeah, that's very important. At the end of any blog post, you want to have a little resource box. And in mine, I think I say, if you like this article, you can sign up to get more, or something to that effect. So yeah, that should always appear. And what I would suggest too is, you can also, in a post like this, even though it's kind of short, you can also put links to other articles. So for instance, like if we go back up here for a minute and take a look, I might have written an article about asking questions, the importance of asking questions in sales and marketing and all of that. So I might include that, and I might include a link in there to another blog post I wrote, right? So there's all kinds of ways. You don't want to have too many, but where it's important, where it can make a difference. You can.
I was going to say, Google likes those backlinks, right? Or it shows that you're referring to your own content, so there's lots of it, and shows your expertise that you're reusing it in that way. So sounds great, excellent. So go write more blog posts, because people need to hear about your expertise. That's and just do it.
And
Let's
write
do
them
it.
in a, and like I said, don't shy away from using formulas. Nothing wrong with that. It's the same way when you bake a cake or what, you're always using a recipe, right? For the basics, and then you can add your own little nuance to it. But, to get you started and get you up and writing quickly, which is the big stumbling block for many entrepreneurs, there's a little formula you can use to get up and running fast.
Yeah, wonderful. That's great. Thanks, Gerry. Hey,
You're welcome,
excellent.
Patti.
All right. See you next week.
See you next
Bye.
week.